Hey photographers, this is the Canon M50, a mirrorless interchangeable lens camera. And inside this small device is a 24 megapixel APS-C sensor, which delivers sharp, clear, colorful, contrasty images with lots of detail, and Canon's excellent color rendition. It can save both JPEG and RAW files. The M50 can record 4K video, has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to connect and deliver photos to your phone for posting, and some interesting features unique to Canon. That sensor delivers the same quality that's made Canon's reputation in the DSLR space. The body is a utilitarian black plastic. The power switch is nicely positioned on the right for one-hand activation. The grip is fairly deep for the size. It holds comfortably in my hand. And it's a fully articulated touchscreen. Out, up, down, and closes to the body for viewfinder shooting. It doesn't get better than that. By default, Touch selects the focus area. Touch shutter is enabled using the on-screen button bottom left. Touch is also used to navigate the menus and select options. There's very little you can't do with Touch. The viewfinder's diopter is a slider underneath, and it adjusts enough to accommodate my prescription, and I can easily see the whole screen without my glasses. The lens included in this kit is the 15-45 equivalent M mount. Canon has a small selection of other compatible lenses. The lens has a latch for a closed travel position, a minor inconvenience. The zoom ring is manual and the lens travels in and out when you zoom. The thumb rest on the back is home to the exposure lock and focus point selector. The multifunction control area, home to 5 controls, is surrounded by 3 more. HDMI and USB ports on the right, mic in on the left, so you can tell this is a video-friendly model. Shared battery and SD card slot, SDXC UHS-1 is supported. There's only one dial surrounding the shutter, and if you've only got one, this is a good one. The video record and the M-Fun buttons are on either side. I'm starting in Intelligent Auto, where scenes are identified and touching the screen turns on focus tracking mode. Once you've taken your photo, you'll want to send it to your phone. Press the Wi-Fi button on the right side, and after they connect, turn on Auto Transfer. The image appears nearly instantly for posting to social media. The app is capable of saving location information, begin logging on the phone, then enable GPS on the camera. The GPS icon on the right indicates it's active. The app supports remote shooting, which can be handy for stills and video, although there are not a lot of settings that can be adjusted. Touch selects a drive mode, burst, 10 and 2-second timers, and 10 configurable from 2 to 10 shots. And set the quality. Press Info to turn RAW on. The Color Palette button offers a range of options. A background blur function, a brightness adjustment, a contrast slider up and down, saturation for more vivid colors, amber blue and magenta green color balance sliders, and 5 mono with color effect settings. You can save any adjustments you've made to a preset or reset to return to standard settings. All of this makes it feel like a perfect camera for novices who want to exercise some photo creativity without getting all immersed in camera tech speak. Pressing Info displays more or less information on screen, including a histogram to judge exposure, and an XPSIM, the exposure preview mode, useful to preview the image that will be taken. Turn the dial to Scene modes, making a variety of adjustments for specific situations, and that includes a silent mode. Turn the dial further to Creative Filters, a variety of effects to enhance, well, maybe not always enhance, your images. In all of these modes, pressing the center, the Q Set button, opens an interactive menu of settings. These set the focus mode, the drive mode, the quality of images, and the resolution of video, or adjust the brightness. And for those familiar with camera tech, there are aperture, shutter, which is called time value in the Canon language, and program modes. Here, one of the info display options is a viewfinder assist screen, which is touchable. Press Q first. In addition to auto ISO, the manual setting ranges from 100 to 25,600. Auto ISO is managed in the menu, and this very visual and helpful mode is the guided menu. I'll turn it off in a minute for faster navigation. Auto ISO has a maximum setting, but not a minimum shutter speed. There's a separate setting for video. Only 6400 and 12800 are available. Some noise and graininess is apparent at 3200 and 6400, and to my eye, images remain usable until 12.8, with some mushiness at 25.6. In program, turning the shutter dial sets alternate program combinations that still provide the proper exposure. In shutter and aperture priority, the dial changes the appropriate setting, but again, touch. Shutter from 30 seconds to 1/4000. In aperture priority, this lens opens to f3.5 at 15 mm and closes to f6.3 at 45. The lens closes to 40 at 45, f22 at 15. In manual, the front dial switches from shutter to aperture to exposure value when the top of the control area is pressed, or again, touch. After switching to a manual ISO setting, I expected the exposure compensation display at the bottom of the screen to change to a meter. Guess I'll have to use the histogram. In the PASM modes, the Q Set menu offers more options: focus, single or continuous, exposure metering, evaluative, partial, spot, or center weighted. White balance presets, custom and Kelvin, as well as a grid to fine-tune. And picture style, a selection of color profile presets that can be customized with 3 different sharpness parameters: contrast, saturation, and tone. And that makes it possible to fine-tune your images in camera. And there are 3 focus methods: a combined face detect and tracking mode, zone, where the camera picks the focus point, and single point, where you do. Single point can be sized, there are 2, then positioned using touch or the multifunction controller. Coverage doesn't quite get to the edges of the image. Focus operation can be single when the shutter is pressed, or continuous as the shutter is held in the soft press position. Use the left side of the control to switch to manual focus. Use the shutter dial to punch into an expanded view. There's a ring on the lens to adjust focus. A great deal is made of Canon's focus technology. I find it responsive and direct, but ordinary, both with touch and with focus point select and shutter press. I never did get it to lock onto the train. Burst mode, saving 24 megapixel JPEGs with the settings on manual, gets 10 images per second for about 3 seconds before it starts to stutter, taking 1 second breaks between bursts, averaging 5 per second. For in-camera panorama, choose another camera. And there's no interval timer for time-lapse stills, but the M50 can record time-lapse video. There is a movie mode, but the M50 will start recording video whenever the red button is pressed. And let's switch back to the standard menu view and find the menu option that sets the shutter in video mode to start and stop recording. I prefer that. The M50 shoots 16:9 4K, but only at 24 frames. HD 1080 at 60, 30, and 24 frames, and all of these are limited to 30 minutes per segment. A video-specific menu appears when the dial is at the video position, and on the menu, a silent 120 frame rate is available at HD 720. It's limited to 7.5 minutes of recording. For time-lapse, which is not available when an external monitor is connected, there are 3 presets: walking people, clouds, and a third for even slower movement. In custom, the interval can be from 1 to 30 seconds up to 900 shots. That feels limited to me. The screen shows the length of time required to record and the length of the finished video. Either 4K or HD 1080 can be saved. In HD, there's a miniature mode, which also includes accelerated movement at 5, 10, and 20 times. Video stabilization supports an enhanced mode available for certain M-mount lenses. I think that applies to this lens, but I can't be sure. Either way, the handheld images look pretty steady to me, and shooting with the viewfinder definitely helps. If you turn stabilization off, Canon's auto level feature can be activated, and this turns a slightly skew shot into a level one. Do I want level or stable? There's a dedicated setting for shooting video in manual exposure mode. All exposure settings can be adjusted while recording. In 4K, ISO only goes to 6400. And here, the meter does work. What did I get wrong in stills mode? Rack focus is as easy as touching the subject to focus. Video shooters like peeking to check focus, that's available here with level and color settings, but there's no zebra for exposure. I did try to overheat the M50, but in a warm studio 30 minutes passed without the appearance of an overheating indicator. That exceeds my expectations. You may wish to consider the M50 for vlogging. It's ideally suited for the purpose. The wide-angle lens, the flip-out screen, the mic input, even though right now I'm using the internal mic to record this video. Now for the color profile, I've selected portrait, and I can tell that the autofocus is working well. It's got a little square around my face, so that means I'm looking nice and sharp. Almost too sharp. The M50's hybrid auto mode records a snippet of video with each photo and saves them into a video collection. You may find it useful, but I find it takes a little practice and understanding of when the video will be recorded to make a worthwhile digest. And I often end up with more image-video combinations than I want, mostly because I take multiple images of a subject before moving on. In playback, creative filters can be applied in case you forgot while shooting, and there's an extensive raw conversion function, but I don't really understand the multiple entry points to the conversions. Although I did have trouble finding things or remembering where they were, that should come with familiarity. The look and operation of this straightforward menu system is very good. The guided mode is useful when you're starting out. When an item is not available, it can be highlighted and there's an explanation. And a personalized menu can be created. The battery, as with all mirrorless cameras, is small, and as a result, and because it's always powering one screen or another, it doesn't last long. What makes this a little more frustrating than others is the unreliable battery display. It shows fully charged for a long time and then suddenly it's over. A battery charger is included. Okay, M50. Please don't ask me to explain Canon's naming or numbering scheme. The M50 is 50 Canon name units less than the M100, a lesser camera without a viewfinder. And it shares a price point with the Canon M6, 44 units less, also without a viewfinder. However, their specs are reasonably similar. The M50 has the best screen swivel and is the only one that shoots 4K video. Go figure. Now, there's nothing disappointing here, but I'm still having trouble mustering up my enthusiasm for the M series. Maybe if there was a better selection of M lenses than the inexpensive ones they've offered until now. It is a good choice and a good value. So keep shooting until your memory card is full and your battery is empty, and then, if you do that kind of thing, please subscribe.